it. You gotta start it. Also, you gotta tell them to start.
All right, we got it live. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the upcoming consolation game between Wheaton College and Hillsdale College. I'm Jacob Ladd.
And I'm Faith Henry.
And we are getting ready to go. Right now, the teams are warming up. We should be opening with this. We are commenting really from the bias of the Hillsdale team.
No, we don't need to clarify that.
Not even a little bit?
Not even a little bit.
So if I mispronounce some of the Wheaton members' names, I'm probably doing it on purpose because I've given up trying to do it in reality. Outside of that, it's a fairly chilly day, but not too cold. And we should be gearing up to go in about 5 minutes. Faith, do you know how windy it is today?
You know, it's actually not that windy. There may be a difference between like the other two places we've been playing, Field of Dreams and Hayden Park, and the football field, because the football field is much more exposed. But in comparison to the weather that we had yesterday, this is practically balmy. It was freezing cold and rainy and windy yesterday, and it made for a really tough day of playing.
Yeah, it sounded miserable. And for those unaware, these teams have played 3 games yesterday and I believe 2 games today. So both have a loss on their record, and so they won't be competing for first or second place, but they will be competing for third. And really, it doesn't matter if you're fourth. So whichever team it is really wants to win.
Yep. And on top of that, the 3 games they played yesterday were more for the seeds and for ranking, whereas today they have been competing in the bracket. So they had semifinals was the last game, and I'm not sure what the score was on Wheaton, but Hillsdale had a pretty rough game against Disco Tech or Michigan Tech. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. Hillsdale's been short on some people.
All right, Faith, we're looking out. We're seeing how the warm-ups are going. Does anything stand out? I've seen a lot of bad hammers from the Hillsdale team, honestly. They should probably give it up. Well, that's a pretty good-looking flick from Anna Coln.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Also, do you want to lead us through some of our Hillsdale College players?
Sure. So, looks like they're all getting together on the field right now, but so far, Nick Akers is our captain. And he does a phenomenal job of that.
He's the tall one with the hat.
And the beard. Also, those jerseys look slightly questionable. Nick may or may not have spray painted those and put them together just in case we needed whites.
I thought you were going to compliment them, and then I was going to have to expose your response on air. Yep, those are a little rough looking.
They're pretty rough looking.
If we're honest, our dark jerseys are much better. But that one's technically white. Maybe some of them could be yellow.
Yep.
But there they are.
And
then we see Gabriel DeBrosi. So Gabe is actually one of our big notable missing players. Gabe unfortunately had some surgery on his ankle relatively recently. And while we're hoping to get him back before sectionals, regionals, and nationals begin, we will not have him in this tournament. And that is a shame because, in all honesty, and he's going to get a big head if I say this, Gabe might be our best player. And it is a big shame to have been missing him really all season.
Yeah. And fun fact, he got injured because we were playing midnight Frisbee, and he tripped over me when we were going for the same disc. And that was about a year ago. So, unfortunately, that put him out of commission for a long time.
Well, now we know who to blame.
Yeah.
And also, just if I look at things, he's running pretty well. So maybe he's just holding out on us.
It's true. He's on the mend.
Outside of Gabe, is Hillsdale College missing any notable players?
We're missing Jake right now. He is a freshman who came in last semester and has proved to be a great asset to the team. In addition, we have Greg Marino down there. He is wearing a white headband, I'm pretty sure. But he and Gabe are probably going to help take over leadership of the team after Nick graduates next semester.
Well, that should be wonderful. It looks like so Greg and Gabe will both be juniors next year, and they will look to take over responsibilities from really Nick and we haven't mentioned Ali Spaccarelli. So Ali's down, I believe, on the field right now. Yep, there she is. She's got her hair in a ponytail, and she's got, is that a headband? Looks like it.
Yeah, it looks like it.
And so they're breaking out, and we will let you know the starting players for Hillsdale as soon as they walk out. Greg Marino's been kind of arrogant. He assumes he's going to start, but he's earned some of that arrogance because he is, in fact, a very good player. And it also looks like we have Nick Akers, Nathaniel. Let's see, who is that in the hat? Is that Steven?
That looks like Steven Zhu. Yeah.
All right, so Steven Zhu. Help me out with Nathaniel's last name.
Picari.
Nathaniel Picari. Very nice. I should remember that one. All right, so we've got Dylan Liebrick is stepping out onto the field. We got Steven Zhu, although Steven's going who knows where. We've got Nick Akers, Greg Marino, Nathaniel Picari, but Nathaniel is actually walking off in favor of Lance.
Lance Linter and Eva are siblings. Lance is a freshman this year. Eva is a sophomore this year, and also my roommate.
That's fantastic. Eva is actually coming back from, I believe, tearing her ACL, which has been a pretty serious blow. She hasn't played much Frisbee in the last year or so and is finally getting back into it. And you can tell that she's still slowed down by the injury, but seems to be picking up pace a little more day by day, week by weekend. And we're looking forward to getting her back to full health soon.
Yeah. So you'll notice that's why she's wearing a brace. She has bright orange cleats, and she has a very professional looking knee brace that she's wearing, but she will probably be subbing in within the next few points, but for now they're going to play the starters and see how the game starts.
All right, and our starters are for Hillsdale College now that they're officially standing out there. I'm going to read from left to right. I see Dylan Liebrick, Steven Zhu. I've got Lance Linter, Nick Akers, Greg Marino. I believe that's Sierra Dilworth, and Sierra's in the, I think, Patriots hat.
Yes, that's her.
That's definitely her? All right.
Definitely her.
Hard to tell from a distance. And Nathaniel Picari. So this lineup, we're going to have, it looks like 6 gentlemen and 1 female. And let's see. My guess is they're going to play a zone. Now, the zone's a little less effective without wind, just the way the Frisbee's calculated. But, and we have the first poll.
There we go.
Nick Akers with the catch. He throws it to Dylan Liebrick. Dylan makes a risky pass back to Nick, but it is complete. And Nathaniel Picari's open, and they get the Frisbee to him.
Very
Lance
good.
Linter's open, and they get the Frisbee to him. Good sliding catch. He should hold on to it, get it to a handler. He does. Greg Marino has it. He passes it back to Nick Akers, and Nick is looking for cuts. It looks like a hose stack, so that's a horizontal stack, and right now Dylan needs to pass it to a handler. Handlers are not doing a good job getting a dump, but Greg swings under, and Greg puts a put, and it is deflected. Bad idea from Greg Marino. He put that into double coverage. They should have worked that up with 3 different handlers a little closer to the end zone and tried an isolation play. Now Whedon takes over for their first possession.
So it looks like for our defense, we are doing a 3-3-1 possibly.
Let's see. I think it's might be a 3.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a 3-3-1. So they got 3 players up front, 3 players in the middle, and they've got 1 person really guarding anything that goes deep. And you'll see there, Whedon is moving the Frisbee up in a fairly calculated way. They're going to swing it back, and if they're wise, they're going to swing it back again.
Ooh, that was close. Sierra almost had her hand on that one.
All right, so that middle of the zone's being torn up a little bit. Dylan Liebrick needs to pay. Oh, and we have a turn. All right, Greg Marino waits to hold it. He does not, in fact, pick it up. Nick Akers, main handler, grabs it. He throws it to Greg Marino, and Greg's going to look upfield. Now a cutter needs to come in. I don't know what Sierra needs to come in. Lance is coming in. Lance. He gets the disc. Very good cut from Lance, and now he should just give it back to a handler. Good.
Very good.
Nick Akers has it in the middle field. Isolation play is called. The entirety of the Hillsdale offense is moving to the back. There's a throw, and Dylan Liebrick has a score.
So in practice, this is something that we call ISO, which is essentially the handler has the disc near the front of the end zone, and they have everyone pull back to the very back of the end zone with the intention being that the defender is going to come back with them. So in man-to-man, where one defender is paired with an offender, what will happen is that will basically draw the defense all the way to the back so that hopefully one person can beat their defender to some open part of the end zone.
Now let's talk about why the first opportunity failed for Hillsdale College and the second one worked really well. So right off the bat, both times Hillsdale managed to move it down the field. However, on the first one, the handler Greg Marino tried to force it in without really calling a play, and that was thrown into double coverage. That's really not a great idea. He should have moved that up one by one with his two fellow handlers, and then should have gotten it roughly about 2 to 3 yards out, and then called that isolation play. The second time they did in fact do that, Lance Lyncher made a nice cut, got it back to the handler in the middle of the field, and they called an isolation play that worked. And so patience is the key in this game, because you can't have turnovers. Wheaton has it now. They've swung it over to the left. They swing it back to the middle, and now they are trying to move it, right through, slicing through. They've got momentum, and they need to keep momentum if they want to continue breaking the zone. They throw it back, though. They throw it back to the left, back through the middle, and really that's the middle front of the zone. The mark needs to do a better job at cutting off those routes. You see Greg Marino's holding there right now. The swing goes across, and the zone stays back again. Right past Greg Marino. And now a handler is looking, or a cutter is looking to get it back to a handler. He swings it back to the middle of the field. He swings it back up to his next cutter, and they swing it across. Hillsdale is in a bad situation, and they get scored on. Wheaton scores. Let's see. That is number, we can't see it. He's actually crossed his jersey off. We'll get a name in a moment.
Yeah.
Well, his number, is that 0?
I can't see.
We've got to give Wheaton some props. We can't be overly biased.
They showed a lot of talent, and clearly they've experienced some zones before, because oftentimes if you play a zone on a team that has never experienced it, it often will stop the play, because the intention of the zone is to keep the motion of the Frisbee moving from side to side and not up the field. So it can be backward progress or side to side progress. But Wheaton has obviously figured out that the key to breaking the zone is going to be moving the disc quickly and consistently. So the faster they do that, the zone has to reset every time the disc is moved up the field, which is why Wheaton was able to get through.
Also, we have a name on that now. That scorer, I believe, was Benjamin Adamson from Wheaton, and he did a very nice job into cutting into the side of the end zone and getting a pretty easy score. One thing Wheaton is doing, there's really two concepts they're doing very well. The first one is they are swinging it back to the middle and then quickly into a side. That forces the zone to move more quickly than is possible. The disc always moves faster than the human beings, and then as soon as they get it to this side, they're then moving it forward, sometimes only a few yards, but it's working very well. And we have the pull.
Very nice pull from Wheaton.
Nick Akers on the catch. Nick's going to look up. He throws it to Nathaniel Picari. Nathaniel is looking back to Nick. He throws it back, and Lance is open deep, and the throw is off, and score. Wow. Very nice offense. And you can see the flow of the offense, really. I think that score was open about 5 seconds before it was thrown, but Nick went into position Lance into just a little bit of a better position.
On a very nice throw from Nick Akers.
Yes, beautiful throw by Nick. Lance did a really nice job. I don't know what his defender was doing. His defender came in and bit pretty hard on the shorter route, and really Lance just went deep and kept running and made a nice, secure two-handed catch. So good for Lance Lyncher.
And it looks like we have a couple of substitutions. So Lance is going off the field, replaced by Eva. We also have Steven Zhu and then Nate Dickinson coming on.
All right, so Lance has been replaced by his sister. That's going to make him feel bad, presumably. And fingers crossed Eva can experience a similarly good result on the field as her brother. Anna Cohen is coming on to the field, and she will be Hillsdale College's 7th player.
Okay, so now the ratio is going to be 2 girls, 5 guys, and as we may or may not have noted before, all of the teams besides Hillsdale has been all men, so which puts us at a slight disadvantage, but I think we've been playing fairly well.
What sometimes happens, we play in the open division. That means females are allowed to play, but in general, it is normally a male-dominated division. There is mixed, but we don't actually play in that division. And so the option of gen zoning, that means matching the numbers of males to males and females to females, is actually not an option. Greg Marino with the pole. It's a nice floaty long throw. Very good. And Steven Zoo's on the mark. They have to cut off that middle section. Yep, they're running right by. And really the mark and the middle defender needs to take it away. Oh, somebody slips. And that might be an injury on the field. Number 13, that is Cameron Geary. Does not look great. He is tying his shoes, so he doesn't look like he's in pain. But he fell pretty unexpectedly, and so we were waiting to see if he's okay. His teammates aren't walking him off the field. It doesn't look like anybody's too worried out there. So we're going to assume that he's doing okay. Our score is 2-1 right now. That's 2 Hillsdale and 1 Wheaton College. All right, number 13, Cameron is back up on his feet, and he looks to be okay. Maybe slightly embarrassed, and now he's moving again. And he's got the disc, and he's looking upfield, but he doesn't take it. He throws it up and to the left, and Greg Marino on a great defensive play. Excellent defense. That throw by Cameron was just too floaty to be successful. He had a good idea, but those passes have to be as low as possible. Dylan Liebrecht on a cut, makes a good cut, doesn't get the Frisbee. Greg is now looking to dump. He throws it to Steven. Steven needs to get it back to Dylan, but he's slow with it, and now he's in a little bit of trouble. He does get it to Greg Marino. Greg Marino looks to in-cutting Steven Pearson, gets it in. Very good cut. Back to Dylan Liebrecht. Dylan's on the sideline, a dangerous position. He looks at Anna Cohen. Oh! And a good throw and a good cut, but unfortunately a drop. And so Wheaton has it back on the Hillsdale 50. They are now in Hillsdale's territory, and they have that 3 handlers set up. They're going to continue trying to swing it left and right, and sometimes those cutters will move forward about 2 or 3 yards just to physically impose on the zone. And they throw it up, and now Hillsdale's in danger. That is not a score.
Not in yet.
And they are looking. He needs to dump it to a handler. Wheaton does dump it back to number 25. 25 dumps it to 6. And now they're probably going to run some sort of isolation. There's an open man in the end zone. Steven Pearson doesn't get it, but does keep him out of the end zone. And now they are holding that zone. Number 1 looks to dump back to the middle. He loses about 3 yards. And the zone is back and set up. The handler is motioning. He wants to swing it across to the right. And they swing to the middle, and that's a score.
All right. That puts it at 2-2. What does that sound?
I don't know. It's terrible. Did we see which number? So the unfortunate problem, we'd like to say the Wheaton names more, but Wheaton doesn't have their numbers on the front of the jersey, and so we're struggling to see who it was. Did you recognize who it was, Faith?
I didn't catch it, no.
All right. Well, unfortunately, because Wheaton has poor jersey taste, we won't be able to give them credit for the score, or at least not the individual. Wheaton did make a very nice series of plays, and I believe that brings us up to 2-2.
Okay.
Which is a fancy way of saying 3 2s back to back to back. I'm getting judged hard by our camera lady right now.
that doesn't work, Jacob. Does not work.
I'm a middle school teacher. I'm allowed to be punny. Being funny is a little different, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so out on the field we have Anna Cohn, we have, I think that's Nathaniel Picard, we have Nick Akers, we have Steven Zhu, we have Evelyn Tier, Nate Dickinson, and Dylan Liebrecht. And so that provides with the college. Here's the dangerous thing. We really have 2 handlers. Nick Akers is really a true handler. He's our main handler. Dylan Liebrecht can operate as one, although I think he prefers to cut. And Steven Zhu is a freshman, and he is really training to become a handler, I'd presume next year, but his development is still continuing. So this is this lineup from Hillsdale doesn't have a ton of throwing and the pole.
We'll see how this goes. Steven Zhu is definitely doing great jobs, and he's very competent with the disc, but it's definitely some practice involved with being a handler that he will definitely get as time goes on.
All right. So right now at Hillsdale College. Man deep, man open. Nate Dickinson. Nate.
Come on, Nate.
Just needs to make the catch. He does. That's a score.
Go.
Very nicely done. So what Hillsdale College ran right there was a vertical stack. We'll call it a vert stack going forward. And what happens is generally the person from the front of the stack. It's like an elementary school line, will be the one doing the majority of the offense. They will cut in, and if they don't get the Frisbee, they will move to the left or right and get out of the way. However, what happened there is Nate Dickinson's defender just decided they got caught up in the stack. They started paying attention to the multiple people in the middle of the field and just completely left Nate wide open. And Nate made a great decision.
That
just
was
ran
an
vertically.
excellent decision.
Really didn't need to do anything fancy. He realized he was open. He realized there was confusion for the defense. Ran deep, and he's just so tall. Nate's got to be about 6'3", I think. He high points extremely well, and really the defense had no chance once that throw was off. And I believe that was Nick Akers with his third scoring throw of the day, his third assist of the day. And a common trend we're going to have today is that Nick throws almost every score in this Hillsdale offense, and he has really improved. He's started making safer and less risky throws, and he's become, well, I'll put it this way, it will be a huge loss to the team when he graduates this May.
Yeah.
And the poll. All right, and we're back. Wheaton College has it in the middle of the field, and they will look once again to move that little jump up where they run about 3 feet away from their handler. They catch it, and they're jumping, so they continue momentum. Ooh, Nate has a chance on that throw. Doesn't quite get it. Allie is marking very far away. That's too far away for Allie. And Greg Marino is allowing the dump. Greg now putting a hard mark. Ooh, that is throw by the middle of the field.
So number 6.
All right, number 6 has it. He throws it number 34. Number 34 swings. Number 13, good motion. Offense right back to the middle of the field.
Motion.
13 has it back in the middle. And a easy score to number 9. Their momentum is what's continuing to help them break this zone. What Wheaton's trying to do is by a quick succession of throws, they ensure that nobody has a chance at getting it on the Hillsdale zone defense. If they can keep this throwing pace where they're throwing constantly, it's going to be very difficult to stop. And really that middle of the field, that is the person in the 3-3-1, the person not on the front line, not in the back, but in the middle section, the most central position, keeps getting pulled away, and they allowed whoever it was really 2 or 3 back-breaking throws that allowed Wheaton to move sort of effortlessly across. I'll say also the people marking the 3 people up front really are letting too much swing by them, and they need to cut off those handler cuts that are moving forward only about 2 or 3 feet, because what that allows the other offense to do is because they catch it and move just a few feet forward, they're now ahead of any mark, and so they have about a second or two for a free and easy throw, and a succession of that, having 6 or 7 of those per point, is a backbreaker for this zone. So really the defense isn't playing very well, and they will need to really show a higher effort. They might need to substitute a few more players.
Yeah. Also, number 9 was Benjamin Adamson on Wheaton. His primary position is defense and handling.
All right, and he's got 2 scores today, so I suppose he's focusing more on the offense today. Nick Akers has it in the middle of the field. Lance is going deep, but it's not a great position just based off of where Nick is. Greg Marino has it now. Nobody's in-cutting, so nobody from Hillsdale. This is poorly done. All right, and that was the cutter's fault. Nick Akers went forward. That was a bit of a dangerous decision, but Ali Spaccarelli and Nate Dickinson spent about 4 seconds trying to decide who's going to cut. Neither actually really moved in, and it was really poorly done. The reason they lost that point is really because of the cutters did not do anything. Now Wheaton has it. Once again, they're swinging it back and forth. And they swing it back to the left towards the top of your screen. The middle needs to keep the forward momentum away. Greg Marino had a play on it, didn't quite make it. That throw is high, but it's caught by number 10. Great catch by him, and he dumps it back to a handler. Timeout.
Yeah, that was an excellent catch from Isaiah.
All right, seems to be some sort of problem, perhaps a foul call on the field. I'm not exactly sure. Nick Akers is walking off the field. Was that a score?
No, I don't think so.
It's a timeout call.
That's a timeout, yeah.
It's a timeout. Allie's signaling to us that's a timeout. So I want to talk about broadly how the sport of ultimate frisbee operates, but we will do it after commercial.
I'm Greg Marino, and I play for the Hillsdale College Ultimate Frisbee team. And right before I ever have a big game of frisbee to play, there's nothing that gets me going quite as well as a cup of Checker Records coffee. Checker Records has been a family-run business since 1980, serving tunes, lattes, smoothies, and gifts.
For the Need Foundation gets kids that are experiencing homelessness from the shelters in Los Angeles, and we mentor them continuously. So we're a program that we don't just take a kid and do one thing with them once. We continually support them throughout the years so that they can grow up with some support that they have lacked in their own lives. There are some virtues that overlap between For the Need and the Frisbee team, like character and teamwork. And at For the Need, we try to teach the kids to work together, to be encouraging, and to not give up. And you can see that on the Frisbee team too. When kids interact with each other on the team, we're, in our own weird way, encouraging each other and trying to help each other be better players. And it's just a great community where we can learn how to rely on each other without being completely dependent on other people, and also just learning to be tough and resilient is something that we teach at For the Need and something that we have on the Frisbee team. If you can or you're interested, you can donate at fortheneed.org to support the foundation and what we're doing out there.
All right, and play has just resumed, and a drop. 25 drops a pretty easy throw in the middle of the field. That would have set them very well up. And a strike cut to Nick Akers. Nick's looking up. Steven makes a great cut, but actually doesn't get the Frisbee. And Nick swings it into the middle. Ooh, and I think just a missed throw.
Yeah, that throw was definitely intended for Allie, but I think it came close to Sierra, but not quite close enough for her to be able to snag it.
Yep, just probably a couple feet over Allie's head. And Sierra had a chance to it. Oh, and Allie makes a good defensive play.
Good defense.
Makes up for the previous Hillsdale possession. And Hillsdale's back in a host tag. Allie's coming in. She's not moving well. Greg Marino in the end zone.
Greg.
He's got to have to sky. He gets a score.
Beautiful. Watch out for Lance.
And now he's looking for Lance Linter. And, Lance makes a terrible decision. Lance clogs up the end zone. Sierra Dilworth was going to have a wide open zone, but Lance actually cut her off. Terrible decision by Lance, and actually cost Hillsdale at least a chance to score for the moment. Nick Akers is trying to get open, and Greg gets pretty lucky. So he made that exact same play that Hillsdale actually turned over on the first play of the game, and makes a beautiful throw straight to the middle, but really an unsafe, dangerous decision. So while perhaps he does get a score, I'm not going to give him credit for it.
Well, at the same time, they are learning. But anyway, a
few substitutions now.
looks like Stephen
we
Pearson's
have
coming in.
Stephen Pearson and Dylan Liebrick, and Greg Marino is substituting off. Also, it looks like Nathaniel Picari is coming on, and Steven Zhu pops off the field. So, a few notes on how Ultimate tends to go. Ultimate, the offense is heavily favored, especially in this rule set with a 10 stall count limit. And in this version of Ultimate, at least, it is very difficult to have or to force an offense to turn over, especially when the skill level raises. So really, the biggest plays you'll see today are likely going to be the defensive plays. And Ali Speccarelli made a really nice one on last play. She undercut a handler's swing because Whedon is throwing it so much left and right across the zone. There are multiple chances for a mess up, for a mistake. And Ali seized upon one, made a fairly rare aggressive attack towards the Frisbee. A lot of times those front defensive players stay back a little more, but she timed it perfectly, got a great defensive play, and it did lead to the Hillsdale score.
All right, and now we have a pull from Dylan Liebrick.
This one's high but short. It's not a great pull, but it will let the zone to set up. And now we have, I believe, I think that's 5. Is that Carlson Chili's? No, they don't have a number 5, do they? Nope, don't know. Number 13 throws it back to the middle and cuts right back in the middle, and they swing it up into the middle, and now they're in transition. He's going to throw it. No, he doesn't. And they reset. 13 has it again. Allie needs to keep a better force. It doesn't work up. They throw it over Allie's head. Number 6 has it. They're going to move it into the middle, and Lance has got to cut that off. Lance Hunter is back on the center mark. He throws it. They're going to try to swing it back to the left corner. They swing it into the middle of the course.
Good.
Good hand block, I think. Nathaniel Picari throws it up. Bad throw. Dangerous throw. Oh, and Sierra Dilworth saves the possession. Stephen Pearson has it now. Back to a handler, Dylan Liebrick. Dylan's looking. Allie cuts in. She needs to clear out. Now Lance was open, but now he runs back. Stephen Pearson, he is late into the stall count, but he gets it back to Allie. And now Dylan has it back in the center of the field. They've lost ground, but they still have control. Nathaniel Picari, nope, thrown to Lance. Back to Dylan Liebrick. And they're moving with authority now. Allie with a nice one-handed catch throws it to Nate. And Nate, it looks up towards Dylan Liebrick.
Beautiful.
Now, Sierra Dilworth could be open if she cuts back to the left of the field. She doesn't. And now Dylan needs a dump. He's running out of time. He gets back to Allie Spaccarelli. Allie looking upfield, throws it to Lance. Good throw, right on the money. He is on the sideline, and Lance needs to get it back to a handler. He gets it to Dylan. Dylan should slide across to Nathaniel. He needs to move to the center of the field. He gets it back to Allie. Allie should move it to Nathaniel now. She does. Very good play. Sierra's going to be open. Sierra gets it. Good catch. She needs to get it back to Dylan Liebrick. She does. Now swing to Allie. Swing to Allie on the right. He throws to Lance. Good decision as well. And Lance should have held that a touch longer, so Allie could have gotten forward momentum. Lance gets it back, and now Hillsdale's knocking on the doorstep. They throw it to Sierra, and Sierra scores.
Wow. That was very impressive. No turnovers, at least in that particular stretch. And they were very smooth and very good about communicating, moving upfield. But then if there wasn't an open cut, then you would throw back to a handler, to someone who has experience. And they did it very smoothly, leading to Sierra being entirely open in the end field.
And Hillsdale did a great job at really what Whedon's been doing the majority of the time, which is keeping momentum as they continue throwing up forward. If they can throw within the first 1 to 3 seconds of possessing that Frisbee, they're going to have generally easier or safer looks. And while the first half of that possession was a little slow, once they gained some momentum, they were swinging it across the field really nicely. You'll see on your screen if you review it. They went towards the top of your screen. They went up the field, moving to their left, and then swung it all the way and ended on their right. And because of that continuous motion, Whedon had a very difficult time defending.
Yep, definitely a strong performance from the Hillsdale team. And yeah, definitely they need to continue with that strategy of keeping the disc moving, because if you let the disc stay still for too long, if you're trying to go against a zone especially, you're going to have a hard time getting it moving again.
What's even better for Hillsdale is they managed to score on that possession with Nick Akers and Greg Marino, two of their primary handlers, sitting on the bench.
That was impressive.
And anytime you can get some of your backup handlers scoring on their possessions, that's just an even stronger or an even greater help to win. And so that was a big possession, kind of stole one right there. And the pole is off. Low pole, but long, bounces out to the back of the end zone, but not before hitting in. And so that's actually very good. And I don't think that's legal. He should take that out the side of the end zone. That looks a little scuffed, but Whedon's back on the move. They swing it back to the right, back through that center cut. That front of the zone in the middle needs to be the one to take that away. And now the middle is open. 25 is looking for the Frisbee. Can't get it. Too much chaos in the middle there. It's a dump. Now 25 gets it. He looks up. Bad throw. Bad decision. Throws it up. Nick Akers, great defensive play using that height and that length to make a nice defensive play. Hammer to the back of the end zone. Nathaniel.
Beautiful hammer.
Has the score. Great throw. Really bookends right there for Nick Akers. Bookends refers to when you make both the defensive play and the offensive score. And Nick Akers really has the cherry on top as he makes a brilliant defensive play and then an even better throw to the back of the end zone.
Looks like Anna Coln and Eva Linter are going to be coming on to replace Allie and potentially one other person, Lance.
All right.
Looks like Lance is getting replaced by his sister again.
I was going to say there seems to be some sort of anti-synergy right there. Akers won't let the two of them play at the same time, I suppose. I guess we won't have the chance to see which one would dominate when both are on the field.
Yeah. Regarding Lance, he definitely was indispensable to not this last point, but the one before. Because while Greg and Nick were sitting out, Lance was definitely getting a lot of I don't know if he was specifically handling, but he was using the disc a lot, and he was getting it, throwing it upfield, throwing it back to the handlers, and he was essential to that particular point.
All right, the throw is off. Whedon to receive. It's a decent pull. It had actually it went out of bounds. That is a not very good pull whatsoever. All right.
They're going to be starting it from the middle of the field.
When the disc goes out of bounds, if it doesn't hit the ground before going out, the offense gets the chance to center it, and that is a big deal. The most dangerous spot on the field for an offense is to be on a sideline, and so the opportunity to move that instead to the middle provides a much safer option.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 6 dumps to number 34, back to number 6, and they're going backwards, so this is good for the Hillsdale zone. Dylan Liebrick with actually a really nice defensive play to cut off the forward momentum. He does it again. Good play. Steven Pearson swing, not really sure why, but now he's got a good force, and they swing it back to the right. Swing across to the right of the field. Now in a dangerous position. Good. Anna Cohn cuts it off. Good play by Anna, and she should move forward right now. She doesn't. 34 has it back to 6. Back to 34. Diving layout. Great catch.
Very
Loses
good catch.
his glasses, and deep. Nick Akers is going to get scored on, but it's out the back of the end zone. And number 1, respect to number 1, actually goes for the world's greatest. He attempted to jump out of bounds, but before landing, catch the Frisbee and throw it back behind him. And so while it didn't work out, number 1, you have my respect.
Mm-hmm. And also a great catch from number 13.
All right, Nick Akers is looking to throw to Greg Marino, actually to Steven Pearson. Doesn't gain much ground, but does, get it to Eva Lantier, but she drops it. And so while she made a very nice cut, and that's good progression, a simple drop cost Hillsdale the possession. And now 13 has it on the sideline. They should look to cut off the swing. They don't, and so number 6 has it right now. Defense is holding up fairly well. Whedon has lost a lot of ground, but makes it back up with a throw to number 9. Number 9 has it, looks back to a handler, throws it back, wonky throw, throws it 34. Doesn't get the swing off, so he swings back to the right and is looking for Nathaniel Picari. He's dealing with 2 offensive players in his zone right now. Does a good job defending it. They're going to dump again. They don't. They swing it far to the left. Good throw, dangerous. And misses. Number 1 misses an open receiver in the middle, but
They get it
gets
back.
the score.
All right. So, yeah, that definitely, number 13 got it back to number 1 for the score. Not sure about the names yet, but we will get those to you.
And that is Calvin Stricker with, I believe, his first score of the day, if not his second. And so Calvin gets himself on the board. Really beautiful pass. That's a little dangerous. So what happened is the handler on the top of your screen on the right side of the field actually threw it cross field. He gained very little yardage. However, because the defense, the zone is set up to take away what's on the near side, getting in that dangerous position forces the entire Hillsdale defense to be out of position. And so because a difficult but very skillful throw went through, it allowed Whedon to be in a great position for a score, and they pulled it off. Allie's trying to get us to acknowledge her. I suppose we have now. She probably wants a compliment, but I'm not going to give it. And right now,
So on the field right now, looks like we have, starting on the far left, Dylan Liebrick, Nick Akers, Gregory Marino, Anna Cohn, Stephen Sue, Nathaniel Picari, and Eva Linterer. And we are waiting for the poll currently. Looks like we're figuring out some logistics of subbing, and Wheaton is currently consulting as to who is guarding who.
notably, Whedon seems to be playing a man defense. So a zone is what Hillsdale College tends to play, and that means that certain players don't guard individual people. They actually guard certain spots on the field.
Right.
Whedon, by contrast, probably because they think they have an athleticism advantage, is playing a man where each person guards a single individual on the other team.
And there is some value in that because they don't have any girls on their team, so the athleticism will often.
Oh, deep throw.
Look at that.
Bad throw by Nick Akers. He's
But-
probably going to get away with it. Oh!
Oh!
And an
Close.
easy catch is just muffed by Dylan Liebrick. That is actually pretty rare. Dylan is a very strong player, and if he excels in any one area, it tends to be getting up high, high pointing the Frisbee, and securing catches. And that one just didn't go off.
Yeah. And Dylan is a very solid player as a general rule. He actually, in the last game, he may have hyperextended his knee because he had to come off the field, and he was having a lot of pain. He's back and playing, which hopefully is a good sign. Hopefully that doesn't mean he's going to be in more pain after the games are over.
All right, and you can see his frustration. And once again, Whedon is moving, swinging to the left, cutting up just a few feet, and getting some good ground. They are moving on the side, and that's a dangerous spot. Steven Zhu, a little out of position, lets off a couple throws, unfortunately, and Whedon is moving very well across the field.
Oh!
Ooh, hand blocked by Eva, but it still gets
It still
through.
gets through.
13 has it now, swings it back. Oh, and a drop!
It dropped. Okay.
See, that is why you always catch with two hands, kids. Number 2 made a pretty
Crocodile.
serious mistake. That's Carlson
Up.
Chiles. Deep throw, bad throw, and
not
it's
quite far enough.
defended well by number 10.
All right.
And number 10 even gave a little celebration. That's Isaiah Cochran, and he made a great defensive play and had his well-earned get that out of here celebration at the end of it. I appreciate that, a little showmanship. All right, in the deep, in the back, there's actually a wide open man, and he should just run deep right now. I don't know why he's cutting in. Oh, makes a mistake. Doesn't gain his opportunity.
not
He
quite.
does, however, the handler gets to 21 and back to 13. They're in that quick motion offense once again, and they swing it back right. They're going to swing it once again. They're going to swing it again. They don't. They're now looking back. They reverse direction of the field. Dylan Liebrick. Oh, great defensive play.
Good D.
Greg Marino swings in. He is fantastic moving in. But they're calling a foul?
Maybe a strip, potentially. Which would be...
Well, that's garbage. But I suppose if you can't beat them, cheat them. And the
Okay.
Frisbee does not lie. There is a drop. And Hillsdale College has the disc back again. He should get it to Greg Marino. He doesn't. He gets to Dylan Liebrick. Risky play, but it works out. Greg Marino is undefended right now. No one is guarding Greg Marino.
That is a mistake.
And so, and they picked it up. Pretty big blunder, but a deep
Up.
throw. Once again, Dylan
Come
Liebrick.
on.
And Nick has got to
Beautiful.
stop that. That is not a score.
Wait, it's not... Oh, shoot. Was that out the back?
That was definitely out the back.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, so...
Should we let them know?
What do you mean? That's not out the back. The end zone goes all the way to the...
He caught that in end zone. I could be blind. He caught that,
Do we have replay?
in the football end zone.
Yeah, that's inside. You see the cones the back?
Oh, it goes back that far? I
Yeah.
take it back. I repent and recant. That was, in fact, a score. I apologize to Nick. He was right. That was a score.
Come back to the truth.
I looked at the wrong cone. I looked at the
That's
10
okay.
to the end zone.
Actually, I can't see the last cone from my position.
So, oh boy, he's going to make fun of me now. No, that was actually a beautiful throw from Nick Akers, and he gets, once again, another assist.
And a quick note on fouls. So in Frisbee, if a strip is what happens. If you catch the disc, you fully stop the rotation, and then someone knocks it out of your hands, and that is illegal. So assuming that's what happened on the field with Greg, he would have knocked the Frisbee, but Wheaton was saying that they had stopped full rotation of the disc, which is why it was considered a foul, and we did not immediately get the disc, even though it quickly was turned over anyway.
Great pull by Nick Akers. Goes, I think that was about 60, 70 yards. And Whedon's back on offense. They swing it back to the middle. And you can see Whedon has to make dozens of throws just to gain a little bit of ground. Deep throw, though.
Deep
Nick
throw.
is caught sleeping, and he will give up a
Wow.
score.
I believe that's one of the longest deep throws that we've seen from Wheaton so far, which was part of the reason why Nick was caught unawares.
All right, that is number 1. That is Calvin Stricker. And Nick had been leaving open the deep on multiple different occasions. I know on the previous point there were a few opportunities for some of the Whedon players to go downfield, and I'm not really sure what the direction of the wind is right now. Perhaps that affected it. But Nick has tempted Whedon to try that a few times, and on this scenario, he gets burned.
Yeah, and definitely, I would say from now on, Hillsdale's definitely going to be more cautious about leaving those deep men open. Up until this point, Whedon hasn't tried to go deep that frequently, but now we know that they are capable of doing it. So depending on the direction of the wind and some other factors, which it looks like there is some wind potentially favoring deep hucks in that direction, we will have to be more aware of that.
All right, your Hillsdale lineup right now is Greg Marino, Nick Akers, Ali Speccarelli. That is Nate Dickinson, Lance Linter, Stephen Pearson, and Sierra Dilworth. So right now they are running, Hillsdale's running a 2 female, 5 male lineup. And Whedon is slowing down for a moment. I think they're working out some things. There's the signal, and we have the pull in 3, 2, 1, ultimate.
I just love seeing Arn's face on that disc flying across the field.
Pretty good pull from Whedon. And Hillsdale will start on its own 43. But straight into Lance. Good cut by him. Oh! Bad decision, though. He tries to dump it, but in the face of about 3 or 4 people in the middle right there. And so Whedon has it back. One of Lance's few mistakes today. He's played very well. Nate Dickinson actually gets bumped. That's good defense by Nate. He needs to keep position, stay where he is, and if they run into him, that's their fault. Sierra Dilworth on a pretty good movement over to get the defensive mark set up. They're trying to throw it into the middle. It's not working. There's no great dump opportunity, but it swings in the middle.
Anyway.
Great throw. Number 10 probably is going to throw it. He gets back to a handler. And so now 6 is in good position. Nate needs to keep his hands up. He's putting it down by his sides, and that is a bad idea. The swing goes across the 25. He's on the sideline. Goes back to 6. 6 is clearly their center handler. And 6 hammers to the back of the end zone. And, oh!
They get it?
They did get that score. There are actually 2 Whedon players right there. Either one of them could have caught and scored. And so
looks like number 10 was the Whedon player who caught that.
While it was a bit of a wonky looking throw, it was highly effective. And that is Isaiah Cochran with, I believe, his second score, or maybe first score, but second time we've mentioned him on this program. So good for Isaiah.
Yeah, and the zone is difficult once you move it to the end zone because you're concentrating your defenders near the front of the zone. There's usually only 1 or 2 people in the very back, which is probably what ended up happening. Whedon players got snuck behind, either weren't noticed or there weren't enough Hillsdale people in the back of the zone to be able to get them both, although it's kind of hard to see from this angle as to what exactly happened.
All right. Ali Speccarelli sets back up her cones, and that's pretty representative of what she's done all weekend. Ali was, I'd say, the main driving force between setting up this entire tournament, and a huge thank you and congrats to Ali Speccarelli for both pulling this off so that so many people could enjoy it, and also for just having a very, it seems, successful event. Not even the weather could put on a huge damper for what has been a great weekend.
Yeah, we're really going to miss Allie. She is also going to be graduating this spring, so unfortunately will not be with us for much longer, but we are definitely enjoying the time we have with her, and we'll miss her very much.
Here's the poll. Of note, Hillsdale College is going to lose multiple seniors, and that is going to be a huge blow. Ali Speccarelli. Oh!
Come on.
Dylan has a drop, but then a catch. He catches it on a bit of a layout, and so I suppose Dylan just wanted to make the game more exciting for us. He makes a bit of a difficult throw to catch. Greg Marino does drop it. It was catchable, but is a little risky into the center of the field and should have been centered more. So that's a bit of blame on both people. Throw to the end zone. Easy catch, and Whedon is on a roll.
Wow. Mayo, what does put the score at? 7-7.
That is a 7-7
One more
tied
point till
game.
halftime.
And this would have been, Hillsdale College had a 2-point advantage. A 2-point advantage. But Whedon has flipped that on its head off of really two or so mistakes. So the first one, if you'll recall a couple points ago, Lance Ventura made a really nice cut into the middle of the field, caught the Frisbee, but then when he looked back to the dump, because there were multiple handlers behind him, the handlers actually weren't free of their defensive marks. He should have held it. He throws it on about stall 2. And unfortunately, because he threw it early and in a risky position, that gets batted down pretty easily by the Whedon defender. Very nice defensive play. And on that one, Dylan Liebrick really gets a little out of sorts as he makes a great diving catch, but then perhaps a little too excited. He then forces a throw into the middle of the field, and while it was catchable, and it was not a terrible throw, it was a pretty difficult one, and Greg Marino, who has excellent hands, just wasn't able to pull it in. I suppose he needed more hand lotion. That is his consistent excuse.
That is fair. Although I'm not sure how hand lotion would help you catch the disc better.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make much sense, especially because he's wearing gloves. But Greg swears that wearing gloves and hand lotion is the twofold thing. So Hillsdale College right now is actually running what's called Dominator. They have 3 people. Stoppage and play goes on. So this will give me a chance to talk about it. So we have actually, Hillsdale College has sent 4 of their 7 total players to the back of the end zone. And in fact, Ali Speckerly and Stephen Pearson are doing a bit of a poor job because they are actually far too far forward. They should be towards the back of the end zone right now. They are taking away space. Hillsdale College is trying to turn this offensive possession into a 3-on-3 rather than the normal 7-on-7. And you can do that by sending almost everybody far backwards and getting them out of the way. Right. And so right now we have a 3-on-3. And Whedon is respecting it. They are not moving an extra defender into that position. And so we have them back in position. Now they should call it ISO. Greg Marino. Ooh, second drop of the day, which is very unusual. Get more hand cream, Greg. And Dylan Liebrick puts in a little wobbly, bit of a wobbly throw, but that was certainly catchable. And so that's 2 back-to-back drops between the Dylan Liebrick, Greg Marino connection. I suppose they should spend a few more hours in the gym. Beautiful throw from the Whedon handler into the middle of the field. That is a very difficult pass. He swings it back to the left, gaining low ground, throws it upfield, a bit low, but it works out. There's a Whedon player going deep, and he actually has position on Nick if he tries to move it forward. Number 1 gets it on the right side of the field after being swung to from the middle. He's going to try to throw it to the middle and gets it off. 13 has it on the side, and they are doing that dump and go, give and go, we call it in Frisbee, and it's working out very well. Stephen Pearson holding a mark. Ali Speckerly a little out of position. Stephen Pearson allows a swing off. Lance Ventura gets back. He makes an aggressive play, and once again, another nice throw into that middle. That is very difficult to do. A throw up into the end zone. Man. He's going to get it, and that is a score. Whedon is up, has a 1-point advantage as we head into halftime, I believe. So, a few swings to the game. That is a 3-0 run by Whedon, and that is coming off of 2 broken up connections between Greg Marino and Dylan Liebrick. So really 2 drops and also a Lance and her turnover. And that is the difference in the game. We talked about how offensive plays are just not as important as defensive ones. And so that is 3 defensive breakups or 3 offensive mistakes by Hillsdale that have really turned the tide of this game. And so a 2-point Hillsdale game has turned into a 1-point Whedon advantage.
Whenever they get around to this. All right, it's me. Is it man, find the guy. Hey, nice throws.
Oh, that was really good. Nice catch, Lance.
Good job.
You too, Sierra, you had the real nice throw in there. All right, Ultimate. No. All right, they're running vert, guys. Be ready for it.
There it is. Steven, back.
Stall 1, stall 2, stall 3, up. You got the wrong pivot foot there.
Huh?
You got the wrong pivot foot.
Stall 4.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, end zone.
Ooh. You good?
Yep.
Good cat. Okay.
Stall
To
1.
skin.
Stall 2. Stall 3. Up!
That's it, Lance.
That was a pretty good throw too.
Yeah. Yeah, way to read it well. Are these people running down the track? Looking slow.
Good job, Jay.
I'm gonna force away. I'm forcing away. Don't get beat right here, guys. I feel like we're gonna need someone here, Nick. Stall 1. Stall.
Don't get beat right there.
Don't get beat right there, we said. Got right beat right there. She did. So how do you mess that up? All right, guys, stack. Oh, I had the score. He's not in. It's a nice throw. When he first put it up, I was like, what is he doing?
Maddie.
Stall 1, stall 2, stall 3, stall 4, up.
1.
Stall 1, stall 2, stall 3, stall 4, stall 5, up.
Travel.
Travel? Huh.
No, not a turnover. It's not a turnover. It goes back.
Really? They get the game-winning score and he calls a travel? What did I say at the start of the point? Don't get smoked by Maddie?
Yeah,
What happened?
I did my best.
You lost so many cuts.
Got smoked by Maddie.
Yeah.
Maddie, did you play soccer? What was it the soccer? I think the instincts they teach make
You played soccer too, right?
kind of the field around.
For the Need Foundation gets kids that are experiencing homelessness from the shelters in Los Angeles, and we mentor them continuously. So we're a program that we don't just take a kid and do one thing with them once. We continually support them throughout the years so that they can grow up with some support that they have lacked in their own lives. There are some virtues that overlap between For the Need and the Frisbee team, like character and teamwork. And at For the Need, we try to teach the kids to work together, to be encouraging, and to not give up. And you can see that on the Frisbee team too. When kids interact with each other on the team, we're, in our own weird way, encouraging each other and trying to help each other be better players. And it's just a great community where we can learn how to rely on each other without being completely dependent on other people, and also just learning to be tough and resilient is something that we teach at For the Need and something that we have on the Frisbee team. If you can or you're interested, you can donate at fortheneed.org to support the foundation and what we're doing out there.
Hit in.
Nice to make decisions. Shot set. Use that. Nice carp. Nice set.
And you can take that out. That's how they play. I'm Greg Marino, and I play for the Hillsdale College Ultimate Frisbee team. And right before I ever have a big game of Frisbee to play, there's nothing that gets me going quite as well as a cup of Checker Records coffee. Checker Records has been a family-run business since 1980, serving tunes, lattes, smoothies, and gifts.
And we are back. Hillsdale College with the poll, which is actually pretty bad news for them because they're already down by 1.
Yep.
And if I sound a little out of breath, I was just on the field, and Whedon has a poor throw, perhaps a drop, and a turnover. Hillsdale College with the throw deep, and that's what I was going to mention. Wind seems to be pushing from the right of your screen to the left, so deep throws when you're going to score on the right side of your screen are more difficult.
All right. Well, we'll see how this goes. Looks like we are now on defense.
In cut by 44. Steven Zhu on the
come on,
defense.
Steven.
Steven gets burned pretty badly. That is a very deep throw. Long throw defense is not Steven's specialty. They're actually playing man defense.
Ooh, excellent catch.
Laying out catch by
By number
13.
13.
This is an all-male lineup by Hillsdale College. They are playing man defense. And they're going to get scored on right here. And
Yeah.
there it is.
All right, we're looking at 9-7, I believe. Whedon in the lead by 2 points, and they are following a similar strategy of throwing in the occasional deep huck because they figured out they can do that. And if I'm right about the direction of the wind, they are doing that when they are on a specific side of the field because they've done it twice in the same end zone.
They pushed with the wind. That means the
Yeah.
wind was behind them, pushing forward in the direction that they were already going. And so deep throws are much easier with the wind, with you. And so they make a very nice throw. Steven Zhu actually loses track of his man. He was not in bad position, but he wasn't able to locate the Frisbee, and that's a struggle that Steven is learning. Steven is one of our many freshmen playing this year. I can see on the field right now for our freshmen, Steven Zhu and Lance Linter. On the sideline right now, I see Nate Dickinson.
Oh, sorry.
And so the freshmen are really a key part at the start of the year. They're certainly in training, but they have progressed quite a bit, and they will be the future of this team. And so while that was a bit of an unfortunate sequence for them, we look forward to seeing them improve and grow. And as they get the Frisbee right now, hopefully right some previous wrongs. 13 throws off. It's going to be a very nice pull if it stays in bounds. And it does not.
It does not.
And so this is going to be centered on the 30. Had some nice length on it, which was very nice. But Hillsdale College gets in the middle, and they are running a hose stack. That is a horizontal stack. Lance wins his cut. He's had a very nice day. Woo! That throw is juggled in the middle by Nick Akers. He looks forward, gets to Greg Marino, and Lance doesn't win that one cut. He comes back again. Dylan Liebrick should have been the throw right there, cross field. Doesn't happen. And throw to Stephen Pearson.
Open.
Sliding catch. Good catch by Stephen. He dumps it back to Nick. And hammer to Lance.
Come on, Lance.
Oh! And he drops it. Actually, a beautiful put. The Whedon player is signaling that he got one finger on it. He keeps signaling with his one finger. He got one finger on it. And so that number 10 makes what looks like a good defensive play. That's still a drop from Lance Linter, though. And so instead of having the point, Whedon will begin with it on their own.
And that was an excellent
10.
hammer, but generally hammers tend to be harder to catch, which could be a contributing factor also when there are other people around you trying to swat the disc when you're trying to catch it. That can also play into the mental game.
All right, Whedon's moving with it upfield. That should be defensive play. And Nick gets just enough on it to get the defensive play. Hillsdale's back in horizontal stack. Dylan should swing it to the middle. He does. And Greg Marino has it with no defender on him. Lance is open. Lance gets it. He should swing it back to Greg. He does.
Excellent.
Nice work by him. Stephen Pearson's clogging lanes. He needs to get out. Nick Akers has it in the right of the field. He throws a deep
nice
throw into the middle. Dylan Liebrick makes a diving catch. And Hillsdale College breaks that long 4-0 run streak by Whedon. Then we have a ball game once again. It's 8-9. Whedon is up. And Hillsdale is going to throw off. A really nice put by Nick Akers. We said that he'd be throwing most of our assists, and that has held true. He's thrown almost every single one on today.
And another note, on the horizontal stack, what you'll generally notice is that you will have 3 players designated as handlers, which essentially means they stay farther back and do a lot of the handling of the disc, which means they're looking for continuation cuts from the 4 cutters who are stationed in front of them. And those cutters have different roles, but primarily their goal is to be in position farther up the field so that there is movement forward. Generally, the handlers are the most skilled with catching and throwing the disc, which is why they stay back and generally try to get to cutters. Cutters will pass usually back to the handlers if they don't see something immediately obviously open.
All right, so this is the 3rd consecutive point that Hillsdale College will have their all-male lineup out there. That's 7 men and no ladies at the moment. And they are looking, I think, to continue playing man defense. Nick Akers with a pull. He spins to win, and he gets a very nice throw all the way to the opposing 35. Number 6 has it now. He's going to throw it to the middle. He gets it off. Stephen Pearson's playing defense. A pretty poor mark right now. There he goes. He gets closer. It's an up throw. Dylan Lieber gets close, but it's a nice put. Number 6 has it back. He throws it upfield to number 13. Stephen Pearson is giving up a lot of distance right now on defense. Number 13 gets it back, makes a nice one-handed catch. Number 6 has it, and he throws it upfield. Nick Akers loses his man for a moment. Number 1 has it. He dumps it back to number 6. 25 is going to be open on the far side of your screen, and 13 is right up on the end zone's lip.
You better watch the corner.
13 looking for a swing. He doesn't see one. He gets one now. Lance Linter is keeping the home force. And up throw. Oh, Stephen Pearson slipped or fell, I believe, and gives up an easy score. And so Whedon is back on. That looks like number 13.
I believe that is
and that'd
number
be
13.
Cameron Geary, I believe, with one of his, perhaps his first score on the day. Good for Cameron.
Yep.
And that will keep the deficit at for Hillsdale College at 8-10, a 2-score deficit. But they will be receiving this poll as they substitute different players on. That looks like Nate Dickinson, Ali Speccarelli, and Sierra Dilworth. That was an unfortunate sequence of events. Hillsdale College actually substituted on I believe what they're hoping to do is their strongest lineup, and still goes with a 1-2 deficit. So that was a pretty poor showing in what was supposed to be a show of strength.
Yep, and we have Hillsdale has reverted back to putting another. They're no longer all male, so they're going to do Stephen Sue on the far left, Nick Akers, Sierra Dilworth, Greg Marino, Nate Dickinson, Ali Spaccarelli, and it looks like Dylan Liebrick on the side closest to us.
So right now they have all three of their main handlers on, and I believe what we'll probably see is if we're in a vertical stack, then we'll see Greg Marino likely and Nick Akers handle, and if they're in a horizontal stack, then you'll see Nick Akers, Greg Marino, and Dylan Liebrick all handling.
And with the vertical stack, you have usually 2 handlers stay behind, and then all of the other people are designated within the stack to cut towards and to try to obtain the disc.
All right, and the throw is off. Nick Akers throws it to Greg. Greg Marino has it. Nice, great ground gained. Dylan Liebrick was wide open, gets it on the left of the field, and he doesn't have a great option right now. Greg Marino is looking to cut. He does. He gets open. Very nice move. He's going to throw it. Nope, not forward. Now he throws it forward. Dylan Liebrick makes a nice handler cut, and Hillsdale is in a horizontal stack with that 3 handler. In fact, I think they are running Dominator. Once again,
like Dominator.
Ali Spaccarelli is just too far in. Her man is staying too close to the action. She's making a pretty serious mistake right now. She needs to get back out of the way so that she can set up for some offensive end zone possessions. Greg Marino gets it. Great strike cut. Nick Akers throws once again another score, and Greg Marino has another reception. And so that will give us a 9-10. Hillsdale down by 1. 9-10 score.
And this particular game is going to be played to, I believe, 15, unless time is called first. I need to go over the rules again to double check that, though.
Wind conditions, always a little wonky in Frisbee. Other games have clear get to this score caps or get to this time, but Frisbee tends to have a bit of a balance, either score this many or reach time, and so that's always confusing. And to be honest, your announcers don't understand it that much better than you do. We're just here for good time and perhaps not a long time, but we don't know how much time because we don't understand that rule. I'm here for the throwing of the Frisbee, not the arbitrary timing of whatever the rule book says.
So, assuming we don't reach the point cap, we will be playing until 2:50 p.m. our time here, unless we started a few minutes late, in which case that might go a bit longer. But that puts it at 110 minutes, and I don't remember if that's hard cap or soft cap. But once the horn sounds at that moment, you finish out the point. If you're tied, I believe you have to play another point. But
all right,
we will see once we get there.
I'm getting a little more used to Whedon's lineup, and they have Cochran and Adamson off. They are sitting right now, and they've done a lot of damage in the last few points, and so it looks like they've kept out a few of their main players, or at least a few players who played very well today. Right now, number 6 swings it across, and it looks like Hillsdale is actually in a 2-3-2, not the 3-3-1 from earlier. That means they only have 2 people up front, but they have 2 people back. It's a bit of an odd call, seeing as Whedon has done almost all of its damage up front, not in the back of the zone. But it's an excellent decision right there.
Excellent, D.
Because one of the second defender who was back right there, Greg Marino, makes a beautiful defensive play. And so I stand corrected in real time as Hillsdale College steals a possession away from Whedon. Right there, not a good throw. Gonna have to see a Sierra Dilworth. Ooh. Tries to get a leaping sky. Actually does a pretty good job positioning herself, but just doesn't have the height advantage. And so Hillsdale College is back in their 2-3-2. They have moved one person out of the front into the back, and they are demonstrating that they are more worried about what's going on towards the end than what's up front. Oh great defensive play. Dylan Liebrick gets a swat down. Very well done. Greg Marino has it, and Stephen Zhu is wide open deep. Will Sierra look upfield? And she will not. She's playing it safe. Greg Marino has it. Man, lost opportunity, but I believe they are upwind. Dylan Liebrick is going deep. He makes a nice box out. That is not a score, though. He's straddling. He needs to tap in. He doesn't. Oh, and Nate Dickinson tries to two-hand it. He should have clapped. So there's two variations of the two-hand. You can catch it with both hands up with all 8 fingers, if you will, pointed towards the sky, or you can clap it together just like you're clapping at a ball game. He should have jumped, leaped, and clapped his hands together. Instead, he tried to put his hands face out, makes a critical drop, and unfortunately, what should have been an easy score is back with Whedon on their own 25. And Whedon is moving once again. They throw it high and in the middle. That is a risky throw, not a great decision, but number 6 gets it back, and they are on the move. They are swinging with momentum. You can see them swing across the field. They move it across. Nate Dickinson has a defensive play opportunity. Doesn't quite get it. Plays some pretty strong defense. Made that pretty difficult. Steven Zhu will set the mark. He should not let it move to the top of your screen. He doesn't. And almost defensive opportunity right there. Dylan Lieberg has a chance, but it puts him out of position. Now Whedon is knocking on the doorstep. Number 6 has it. He's going to swing it to your right. He might swing it into the end zone. He doesn't. And Greg Marino on the back right of the zone is actually under pretty serious pressure because there are 2 people in the end zone, 3 people in the end zone. Scores up, and great defense,
good defense
by Steven Pearson and Greg Marino simultaneously.
Yeah, and the tricky thing was that there were several defenders in the back that Greg and Steven were trying to cover simultaneously.
There were more offensive players than defensive players could handle, but they kept it. Great throw. So Greg Marino's playing very well on this possession. He is definitely the best handler out there for Hillsdale College. Rough throw, though. Too high. Nate, that is a foul. That is certainly a foul. Nate Dickinson had possession of that. Gets body slammed by number 44. And so, as they discuss on the field, it looks like a contest. That is a foul. Ultimate Frisbee, somewhat unfortunately, is not a contact sport, and so you can't do that. What are they doing? I'm very confused right now. No, that's certainly a foul, and a deep throw up. That's pretty scummy. That is not a score, though, and they're going to score probably on the right. They call a timeout. I do not know what Hillsdale College was doing there.
I'm not sure what just happened.
So that is scummy in sort of 2 different ways. The first way is that was not a drop. That was certainly a foul. So what happens in Frisbee, it could be twofold. If you go up and you get your hand and you grasp the Frisbee, if you stop the rotation of the disc, then that is a catch. And if any defensive player makes a move that causes you to drop that, once it's in your grasp, you have possession. And so anything after that is going to be considered a foul. And because there was physical body-to-body contact right there that caused the drop, that would in fact be a defensive foul. And then compounded onto that, as they were discussing, a Whedon player moved back into the end zone, sort of without anybody from Hillsdale noticing. And so instead of having the justified call of a foul and then continuing Hillsdale play, they get a very long deep throw into the end, almost to the end, or to the front of the end zone. And now Whedon is actually about half a yard out from scoring once again. Unfortunate sequence of events, and really Hillsdale College should have contested that. I don't know why they weren't, because that was certainly a foul. They made a pretty serious blunder by not making their own calls. And we'll point out that there is not a ref in Ultimate Frisbee games, so you make your own call. You say whether things are fouls or not. If the other team disagrees, they can contest. And then there's a series of different rules that will work that thing out. Either way, though, even if Whedon had contested, Hillsdale would have maintained possession. And
Right, and yeah, the thing with there are no referees in Frisbee means a lot of it comes down to being honorable. And I definitely think Hillsdale should have called that particular foul, but that has to be balanced with you don't want to be too obsessed with technicalities. You don't want to become the guy who calls technicalities and like picks and all these different things when they should not be called. You choose the ones that matter, and then you try not to worry about the minute details. But I think that was a blunder on the part of Hillsdale to not call that as a foul.
all right, so Hillsdale is still convening, talking about what they need to do to set up this next defensive position. Whedon is in an excellent position to score, And so whatever they pull out, it will probably need to be a man defense. So the zone gets considerably weaker as you're pushed into smaller and smaller space. And so my guess or my presumption would be that Hillsdale is going to line up. They're going to match up one by one. Now, only 5 Hillsdale College players have run out onto the field, and they're missing one.
Yeah, they need one more.
1, 2, 3,
Greg's
4, 5,
coming.
6. Greg is finally running onto the field. He remembered what he's doing today, which is perhaps an improvement from normal. And we will resume play shortly. And yes, it definitely looks like Hillsdale College is playing man defense.
Yeah.
So you should look, I would expect Whedon to target some of the female players on Hillsdale College's team. And so I think expect the next throw to be towards the front of that end zone, right there. And that's where, that's Sierra Dilworth on defense right there. She needs to step into that knowing that she's going to be targeted. That's one of the first reads for any any Frisbee player. And so that's perhaps a little bit of inexperience. Sierra is playing her first year of official College Ultimate this season. And so we'll hope that those sort of mental errors are ironed out before sectionals begin.
Number 2 is being a very good sport as well. But yes, definitely some parts of Frisbee involve experience, and I think something that I know I personally struggle with can be like if you have a space on the field, you can own it, and you oftentimes when you're trying to throw the Frisbee, you can actually like step forward to give yourself more space, but when you're on defense, you can step in, like it's non-contact, but there are things you can do to guard your space.
Yep, and really that thinking is step into your spot. If they run into you, call foul on them. And unfortunately, that is not what Sierra did. And so we're looking at a 9-11. Whedon College is in the lead score, and Whedon College is about to throw off. And you can tell Sierra's angry. Look at that. Arms on her, arms on the hips, head down. That's frustration body language. She's going to have to cheer herself up, pep herself up, and get ready to go back in, because Hillsdale College is actually playing with far fewer players than normal. Traditionally, Hillsdale College has had a couple more players, Angelo Pistrio being a main addition of that, and those have been ineligible from the main roster because this is now a college division. A risky throw. I believe that was Dylan Liebrick attempting to get it to Nick Akers, and that is, I think, Dylan's third turnover in the last 6 or 7 or so possessions, so that is not very good. He tried to get a leading throw up to Nick Akers, and it did not work out. What I'd like to see Hillsdale College do going forward is they should really prioritize the handling of Greg Marino and Nick Akers. Nick is actually going to get burned, potentially. There's one man way behind him, and that man should just go deep. There is somebody wide open, and Nick identifies the open man, takes that option away, but it was risky. They are throwing it. Whedon is throwing it into the middle of the field. They're moving it up. Notice how number 1 doesn't even bother looking upfield because he knows his role right now is to cut. He's not even trying to throw upfield. That is not his job. And that is what a lot of new Frisbee players should attempt to do, is stick to your role, catch it, give it back to a more experienced thrower, and move on with your job. 13 is moving to the middle of the field. Greg Marino takes that away. He's going to dump it now. Lance Lenter is marking, and he's going to swing it, I believe, to the middle of the field. There it is. Greg Marino misidentified. Throws up. That is not a score. And there is somebody on the backside and also 25 in the middle. Hillsdale College is in a dangerous position. 13 has it on the side. He throws it to the middle. 6 is going to target an isolated player if he can. Nick Akers makes a throw away, and that is a score. Nice footwork by the Whedon player right there. He was not going to be in, but he hops before he catches the Frisbee, which is a neat little trick to gain about a yard, because in Frisbee, wherever your feet are when you make a catch is where your position is. And that is a very nice job, very well done job, a very well done job by the Whedon player. And so that will put them up, I believe, by 3 points.
Good.
And you can see a little bit of frustration from the Hillsdale players. They are still in this. They still have a good opportunity to win. But that defense, really, actually, I should say, that offense is going to need to clean up their mistakes, because we've had several really critical errors in the last few possessions, and they are turning it over far too much. We've had a couple of key drops. We've had a couple of really poor throwing decisions, and even on that last foul call that we discussed to some length, all of that stems back to a pretty poor throw by Greg Marino, throwing it high when he just needed a bit of throwing that Frisbee on a rope straight to his player. I think the wind probably messed with him a little bit, but those are mistakes that can be cleaned up and should be cleaned up in order to win this game. And at this point, at a 3-point deficit, Hillsdale is going to have to play excellent Frisbee going forward, because it's all the small mistakes that lead to wins or losses.
Yeah, and especially if we see a streak of Wheaton scoring like another 3 in a row, that's going to end the game. So Hillsdale really needs to...
Key mistake by Nick Akers. He was throwing really just an easy throw up, gaining momentum with Greg Marino. The communication wasn't there. He placed it a couple feet too far, and that's a wide open player by Wheaton in for a score, and that's going to be a 4-point advantage for Wheaton.
That will cost Hillsdale significantly.
2 mental mistakes by Nick Akers. First, a missed throw. One of his first few of the day. Nick has played extremely well today. And then a mistake. He let an offensive player on the opposing team wide open deep. That is his zone of responsibility, and it's a little more egregious because when you're on the same side of the field as the opposing thrower, that's your priority as that deep zone. And unfortunately, Hillsdale College just left that player open. And so a nice sequence of events for Wheaton. They have played extremely well in the last few minutes. I think they're figuring out that zone and have played very well going forward through today, scoring against this man defense. Faith, can you discuss what's going to happen in regionals? Because Hillsdale College will presumably see Wheaton again.
Right. So in USA Ultimate, we are going to be hopefully competing in sectionals first in about 2 weeks, I believe. And then sectionals, followed by regionals, followed by nationals if you qualify. But going from regionals to nationals, only, at least if my information is correct, only one team from regionals is going to go to nationals, and Wheaton is in our division and in our specific area. So this is actually a telling game for Hillsdale versus Wheaton, because if we both end up competing in the same division, we are likely going to be going against each other at regionals, in which case only one of us would be potentially moving on to nationals. So what we're seeing right now is that the teams are both fairly competitive. Hillsdale is definitely...
Lance Lentera's open deep.
Come on,
and
Lance.
He's got an easy catch. Two-hand, claps
All right,
it.
beautiful.
Great throw, great catch. And Hillsdale College has a spark of life. You could see that Lance winning that a mile away. Nick identifies it really with great reaction time. He saw that very early. I thought I was going to get a cool commentator moment predicting what's going to happen in the future 5 seconds early. And Nick, well, fortunately for Hillsdale, identified it even faster than I expected. And you can kind of see with this top-down view, you can predict what's going to happen pretty early. And so if you're viewing and you're trying to improve your own Frisbee ability, I would say try to identify what a handler is going to try to do as they go forward. You can generally predict what's going to happen about 2 seconds before it does.
Right. It's actually pretty epic, just saying. And as someone who's getting over an injury, it's actually a good way to get better at the sport without actually being able to play, because you can observe and see what the strategy is, and that actually gives you a better field awareness when you're actually playing.
I'm still proud that I predicted what Wheaton was going to do about a minute before they did it. Unfortunately, they scored, but I suppose that does happen every now and then.
Also, real fast, wanted to say a quick thank you to Don Toko for the need and for the grader, some of our sponsors for this tournament.
Don Toko, a Hillsdale legend. He has been helping out Hillsdale students for literally years. I'm no longer a student anymore, but I can remember my freshman year. Oh, deep throw up. Nate Dickinson needs to underrun. Great defense. Woo! And great defensive play by Nate Dickinson. Whedon got a little impatient, which is going to be their downfall. Nick Akers needs to pick it up quickly because Dylan Liebrick is wide open. There he goes. A no-look pass. Very sneaky by Nick. Dylan makes a key mistake. He should have just swung that right across to Greg, but he doesn't. And now Hillsdale's pinned on sideline. Great throw. Oh! Nate Dickinson not looking at his handler at all. He reacted extremely slowly to that throw. That was a good throw by Nick Akers. He actually positioned the throw so that it was forward so that Nate could underrun it. And for whatever reason, Nate coming off of a great defensive play. Just, deep throw upcoming.
All right,
Nick Akers is tired.
This might decide the game.
That is a catch and a score. And you can see the exhaustion running through Hillsdale's players. They are having a difficult time running with Whedon. The conditioning of Whedon really looks excellent as we go forward. And we are looking now, I believe, at game point.
Yep.
So if Whedon scores, they will be up 15-0, and that will be the victory for Whedon. They will achieve 3rd place, and Hillsdale College will fall to 4th. And while that is not perhaps the most consequential thing in the grand scheme of things, you really want to have some momentum before these two teams meet up at regionals, because regionals will decide who moves on to nationals and who gets to play with the big boys, essentially.
Yep. So we'll see. I'm interested as to the lineup. So we're going with all men for this lineup because this is a very key point, as well as the next 4 if Hillsdale keeps making points. So we have Nathaniel Picari, Nate Dickinson, Lance Linterer, Gregory Marino, Nick Akers, Stephen Pearson, and Dylan Liebrick, which leaves Stephen Zhu being the only male who's not in the line as of right now.
Ooh, that's a dangerous slip. Does that imply that only men are people?
You know what? No comment.
And now that I've presumably gotten banned from YouTube, I will start the call as Whedon throws off. It's going to be a very nice pull. If it stays in mound, and it's not going to. It had tremendous length on that. Whoever that thrower was should be very proud what they accomplished on the distance. Unfortunately, it was also a little bit to the right. And so Hillsdale College will start with it on the brick, and we'll look to throw starting now. So that 10-second timer begins.
Come on,
Bad
Steven.
decision by Nick Akers. He wasn't going to gain very much, and he tries a looping throw over his mark defender. I'm not really sure. I think the frustration is getting to Nick. Probably some exhaustion as well.
I'm sure,
And so now no one is guarding number 2. Lance Linterer goes, sets a mark. He should be forcing into the sideline. He uses a kick. Not a bad idea. And Nathaniel gets broken, but it's a high throw. Nick Akers on the defense.
All right, Stephen Pearson
has it. He should look at Dylan Liebrick. Dylan Liebrick should look at Nathaniel. Nathaniel's covered. He should have cut in right there. And a throw up to Lance. Great positioning by Lance. He's had a great day, and he's careful with it there. He's learning from past mistakes. We love to see freshmen learn from that. Nick's should look at Lance again. Lance is open again. Lance cut in. And Lance is open, gets the throw. Once again, almost stumbles.
Close.
Still makes the catch. Lance, and he doesn't learn from his previous mistake because he gets D'd again. He's struggling with that drop. That is the second time today Lance has had that. He's had a great day. He's cutting extremely well. And now the next step of his progression is probably going to be, how do I dump safely and effectively? And so now Whedon starts with it once again.
All right.
Drop.
This could change the tide.
Lance is
All right,
open
Lance
deep.
is going. Lance is going for it.
Nick is not going to throw it to him, though, because that distance is just a little too far out of his range. All right, Nick has it on the left center of the field, and Lance is open again. Lance is wide open.
Lance is not being covered.
Whoever Lance's actually, it looks like Lance's defender is limping a little bit. I don't know why Hillsdale College doesn't abuse this matchup. So one problem the club does have occasionally is they don't take advantage of matchup advantages. When you just find a player who's just, deep throw up to Akers.
Come on, Akers.
Akers will have a good positioning on this, but he reads it poorly. That is not a score, but it is a back breaker as Hillsdale College faces elimination. There's a wide open man in the end zone. Whedon does not identify him. 10 has it. 10 has the score, and 10 has the game.
Final score, 15-10. Wheaton wins over Hillsdale College.
Hillsdale 10, Wheaton 15, and Isaiah Cochran, who had a very nice game, finishes off the Chargers. I suppose we should mention that Isaiah Cochran is listed as a defensive player, but I would have appreciated if he played a little more defense and a little less offense, because he had a fantastic game, scoring at multiple different occasions and ultimately sealing the deal for Wheaton College.
Yep, and an excellent performance on both sides of the teams. It was definitely a competitive game, and we love to see those, although I would have been happy to see Hillsdale win, but Wheaton did an excellent job as well.
As Hillsdale College goes forward, a few things to improve on. A couple of easy points were given up deep, some lack of mental awareness from some of the deeper defensive players, and so that's something to look out for. There are also a few key turnovers. There were some difficulties dumping it off behind to the handlers, and so Hillsdale College's cutters will probably need to focus on how can I get off a very safe 3-yard drop. Outside of that, Hillsdale College had some troubles catching the Frisbee today. I think there are about 3 or 4 notable drops, and all of these add up to a 5-point loss. It's all about the small mistakes. It's all about, can I catch consistently every single time, and how can I make sure that I'm the most consistent player I can be. It's not about being great, it's about being consistent, and this is really the key sport of focusing on the small things day in, day out.
Yep.
So, a huge congrats to Wheaton. Very well played by them. They certainly earned this one, and they were the better team today, and we look forward to playing them in the upcoming regional tournament.
Yep.
I'm Jacob Ladd.
And I'm Faith Henry.
And we'll see you next time.
For the Need Foundation gets kids that are experiencing homelessness from the shelters in Los Angeles, and we mentor them continuously. So we're a program that we don't just take a kid and do one thing with them once. We continually support them throughout the years so that they can grow up with some support that they have lacked in their own lives. There are some virtues that overlap between For the Need and the Frisbee team, like character and teamwork. And at For the Need, we try to teach the kids to work together, to be encouraging, and to not give up. And you can see that on the Frisbee team too. When kids interact with each other on the team, we're, in our own weird way, encouraging each other and trying to help each other be better players. And it's just a great community where we can learn how to rely on each other without being completely dependent on other people, and also just learning to be tough and resilient is something that we teach at For the Need and something that we have on the Frisbee team. If you can or you're interested, you can donate at fortheneed.org to support the foundation and what we're doing out there.
I'm Greg Marino, and I play for the Hillsdale College Ultimate Frisbee team. And right before I ever have a big game of Frisbee to play, there's nothing that gets me going quite as well as a cup of Checker Records coffee. Checker Records has been a family-run business since 1980, serving tunes, lattes, smoothies, and gifts.